My name's Robert Ivinson. Um, I was I was born in the UK, grew up in America, and came back to the UK a couple of years ago. And I came down to Exeter to study philosophy. At that point, I had one last living relative on my dad's side, my aunt. My first week down in Exeter, my aunt told me that she was terminally ill, and she lived through. She had a 6 month sort of decline, and then she passed away uh, beginning of March. A friend of mine called me up. He was in Australia, so there's some time difference. It's always hard if anyone who knows what it's like coordinating with people on the other side of the world. He called me up to, offer me his condolences and to sort of shoot the breeze after a while. So after about 20 minutes, we just started chatting about the world. We're both sort of into current events and politics, and we just started talking about the way things were going. I was in my room with the door closed and the window closed, and somebody had heard me say things that they didn't like. At about midnight, I got a knock on the door, and it was two guys from the campus night patrol, and they said to me, "You've been saying some very offensive things in here." And I said, "Okay." And I noticed that the one guy had stuck his boot in the door, so I couldn't close the door. They told me to be quiet. And I think later it came to pass that part of my crime was that I was defensive. I had said to them, "I can say what I want in the privacy of my own room." They left. I knew who it was because I had one neighbor. There was one person I shared a wall with. I was in a top floor corner room with a hallway on the one side, and I knew exactly who it was. The girl next door to me. I got a notice about a disciplinary hearing, and it appeared that she had at a certain point she had heard me saying things and called another guy into her room to witness it with her. I know who that was too, because it was later he admitted it to me. So I had this notice about the disciplinary hearing, and I saw that I could have a friend come for support. So I asked my friend Tom to come. There's a couple of things I'll never forget about this, that I wasn't told what I'd actually said. I couldn't prepare a defense. And I walked into this building on campus with Tom, and we waited in reception. This lady came down to bring me and Tom up, and we're walking up to this room, and she's so nice. She's really friendly. And we walked in and we sat down, and there was another woman there who I was told just to take notes on the meeting. And the woman sat down and she flipped completely. She went from being really nice, really friendly, making me feel at ease, to being in attack mode. The woman who was taking notes as well was not just taking notes. She joined in throughout this whole process in attacking me. I went into this thinking that this was some sort of administrative hearing to figure out what exactly went on, what happened. That was not what it was. It was not two impartial people. They, from the very beginning, were attacking me and had made up their mind that this girl was the victim and that her grievances were legitimate. And I think really what they wanted to find out was whether I was appropriately contrite. there were two phases. They interviewed me, and then we left, and then brought me back in to tell me what my punishment was. And we sat down and in that first part, and they read out. They said, "You said comments that are offensive," and they read out this list of things to me. And the first thing one of the other things I'll never forget is the first thing that they read out to me was so absurd that I was there to make an account for, that I asked them to repeat it 3 times, because what I apparently said that I had been brought in there for was that veganism is stupid. Veganism is stupid. I couldn't believe it. My brain could not process that I had to make an account for veganism, my opinions on veganism in a disciplinary hearing. I also said I thought gender fluidity was stupid. I don't believe in gender fluidity. I believe that you are what you're born. Other than those 2 things, veganism and the gender fluidity, everything else that I was reported for was something where a crucial word was missing. At the time the Syrian civil war was going, what I said to my friend was, I don't think Assad's a good guy, but I think it's inevitable that he's going to win. So more lives are going to be lost in us supporting the rebels at this point. And all that was recorded in the notes was Assad is a good guy. What I said precisely was, I don't think Assad is a good guy. The other thing I said was, I said that I didn't like gay pride parades. And I then went on to say to my friend, I wouldn't like straight pride parades. So basically, I just declared myself a prude. I don't like sexuality flaunted in public. I think sexuality is something that should happen in private. And my friend then asked me, well, what if those public displays of affection happened in a gay bar? And I said, yeah, if it's in a gay bar, fine, go for it. They reported me as saying people should not parade their sexuality in a gay bar, which is exactly what I didn't say. I precisely said that a gay bar seems to be the appropriate place for that stuff to happen if it's going to happen in public. I said, yeah, in a gay bar, anything goes. And that got turned into a nonsense sentence. Anything goes groping. I don't know what, and I said to them, I don't know what that means. I don't know what anything goes groping means. And I said, can I read this, please? Can I read the paper? Can I read the things that I'm supposed to have said? And they looked at the paper, and there was a slightly dramatic pause. And then they looked up at me and just said, no. So I wasn't even allowed to read anything. I gather because there were the 2, my neighbor's name and the witness's name on the paper, as if I didn't know who it was. But fine. But that they hadn't prepared an anonymized version for me to read. I felt particularly blindsided by that I couldn't even read the things that I was supposed to have said. I tried to get them to tell me whether or not I was in trouble for making noise or in trouble for the content. I'm very big. I'm 6'5". I make a lot of noise. I have a deep voice. It carries. When this girl moved in, I reached out to her, and I have the WhatsApp transcripts, and I said to her, I know I make a lot of noise, and I'm sorry. And if I'm ever making noise, just let me know. Send me a message, and I'll be quiet. I tried to establish sort of a line of communication for addressing these any noise that I might make. But even if she didn't want to use that line, she had the legitimate recourse of calling the night patrol. But in the student handbook, there's a well laid out process of escalation for infringements on noise. And you do not go from a first noise complaint into a disciplinary hearing. So as I said, I asked them to pry these issues apart, and if whether we could deal with them separately or whether I was liable for just one or the other. And they refused. They said, no, we're not going to do that. These are one issue. So I was defending this sort of this composite accusation of noise and content. It was that I'd caused her distress. I think she was distressed from what I said. The problem is that someone listening into a conversation that they're not a part of, that they're not conceivably a part of, her distress, while unfortunate, does not trump my freedom to say these things. My position was, well, if it was noise, okay, I concede that I made noise, and I did say to them, I'm sorry that I disturbed her. If it's about the content, though, I have the right to say these things. I have the right to say what I want, and especially in the privacy of my own room. What these two women refused to do was let me pry these two issues apart, because the noise was the battering ram that got them able to hold me liable for the content. So they asked us to leave the room, and Tom and I looked at each other, and we knew they were going to find me guilty, but they knew that they were going to hit me with something. And we were both shocked, sort of, at how it had been conducted. And we walked back into the room and sat down after about 5 or 10 minutes. The one who was leading it, said to me, "Well, you're guilty. We're going to give you a disciplinary contract. And what that means is that if you do anything else during your time at the university, we can throw you out with no recourse. We can just throw you out if we want to. So you have one strike left." At that point, I had been accepted onto a program, the resident mentorship program, which means you stay in halls for your second and third year. And it was about at the time, I think, £4,000 a year to do that. You were paid. And that was retracted from me. So essentially I lost £8,000. While that wasn't part of the punishment, that was one of the results of it. Effectively was part of the punishment that I lost my mentor position. I went to the student advice team at the Guild, and they helped me draft an appeal, and I sent the appeal off, and that was denied. And at that point, my last recourse, which I didn't take, unfortunately, was I could have appealed to the student ombudsman, but at that point I was pretty broken about having lost my aunt, who was this last link that I had with my dad's family. And to have this hit me at the same time, I didn't have the strength to appeal to the ombudsman. I wish I had now. As a result of this experience, I really withdrew into myself. I moved out to when I lost my mentor position, I knew that, well, I didn't have a place for next year. And so I moved out to a little village that's a bit of a commute from the university. I didn't really engage with the campus stuff for the next 2 years. The whole process, from getting the knock on the door, the boot in my door, was it felt like you pick the Orwell, Kafka, the Stasi, right? It was some combination of all three. The highlights being, of course, that I couldn't read the accusations, and I couldn't pull apart these two issues. I was thinking about it before. It was worse than a show trial, because at least if it had been a show trial, it would have been a warning to other people to watch what they say in their own rooms. But because it was done in private, nobody knew that they were on the hook for things that they say in the privacy of their own room. So the whole process just was, I have to laugh. Because if I don't laugh, I'm afraid I might cry. We had a good relationship as far as I could tell. I had spoken to her one-on-one, and said to her, about my noise, and then I reiterated that on the WhatsApp. And she was, she was nice. We got along, and I was surprised. I still am surprised that she reported me in this way, that she didn't just reach out to me. I would have reached out where the tables turned and just said, "Hey, I can hear you." I think the problem is that the generation of students that have come in, I'm a bit older. I'm a mature age student, but a lot of them can't deal with challenges to their worldview. I'm a classical liberal. I really believe that the marketplace of ideas needs to be rough and tumble, and we need to test these things. The generation of young people coming into universities now don't seem to be able to have their these things that they hold sacred tested. And I think it's sad. I think it's the whole point of the university. It should be an exciting place where ideas are thrown out and tested and played with. I can do that. I don't take offense to ideas that conflict with me. And I mean, maybe one of my sins was that I forgot that that's not usual anymore.